City of Greater Sudbury is part of a larger advocacy to have the cost of recycling collected from non-residential users converted in a manner similar to residential user pickup.
Okay, so
on its face,
so currently it's
we
different.
like that.
Currently, the commercial is treated much different than the residential, and I know a lot of commercial places don't even recycle because of that. So I think maybe this is to solve that issue. Yeah,
that's right. So the producers, the change, which is to take place by 2026, will have the producers of the recyclable materials pay for curbside collection and processing for recyclables. So those who produce will be paying. What do you think of that?
The producers, meaning like if I'm Pepsi or Coke or something and I have plastic bottles?
One step further down.
Okay.
The industrial, commercial people that kind of produce materials that need to be recycled,
so the companies
or use them.
Pepsi or Coke pays to have them make their bottles for them will pay. Whoever's manufacturing the bottles.
People that put stuff in a recycling bin to be recycled.
You and me.
Well, right now we pay for it.
Okay.
On behalf of industrial commercial clients.
Okay.
So if you're in an office building, that's a commercial space.
Okay.
They recycle.
Okay.
But how's that paid? It's paid by residential.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. So they've never been charged for that service.
They either haven't been charged or it hasn't been available. They have to pay a commercial service to take it away.
Yes, so they have
which means they don't do it.
Exactly, because they're like, I'm not paying extra.
I'm not paying
for that. Yeah.
So the city was asked to proceed with a plan to continue to fill the gap in service, even after they transition away from handling blue box services by April 2025. So it says it shouldn't matter where the material was generated, says Renee Brownlee, adding that the province's move to exclude non-residential recyclables should be called to question. So in a way, it's kind of a way to cut costs, right? To say you're in charge of your own recycling.
Mm-hmm.
But we talked about this before the show. Is that just telling them not to recycle? Is that just incentivizing businesses to not recycle?
Mm-hmm.
Because we say, well, we're not going to pay for this.
It was, and we saw the proof in the pudding, I think.
Proof is in the pudding.
A lot of places I worked at were of that mindset.
Mm-hmm. It says, under this scenario, drinking a can of pop, it's funny, they had the same example as you.
Well, it's an easy one.
Drinking a can of pop at a restaurant and disposing of it there will not have the can's recycling covered by the producer pay system. Taking the can of pop home and disposing of it there would be covered. That makes sense?
Yeah, because you're doing it at home, and that's where the money's coming from, is from residential, not from commercial.
They come by, they pick it up.
That's right.
Yep. So it says the provincially mandated transition from municipally based recycling programs to one entirely paid for by producers of recyclable products is being implemented in a staggering schedule between April 2023 and December 2025, and we are scheduled for April 2025.
So producers, so that would be the Cokes and Pepsis of the world. If they're producing recyclable goods that need to be recycled, they have to pay a fee, is what I'm getting out of it.
Well, it starts to become a little bit ambiguous.
That's what I mean. So
but
it eventually comes down to us again, though, because they're just going to put that in the price of the products, right?
I mean, I hope that they do that, but that's not what this article is talking about.
That's not what it's talking about? Okay.
No, it's kind of ambiguous, but what they're really talking about is those who furnish the recyclable material to be taken away are the ones that should be paying for it.
Okay.
I agree with you. I think the people that take it from raw material into should be paying. But at that point, do you go, well, maybe the forestry people should be paying for it? Like, at what point do we say, okay, this is the step?
It's almost like
that we need to pay for the recyclable.
They need to be a group, like all the people that produce things that are recyclable all belong to some association where it's like a loop. So they produce the products that are recyclable, and then it comes back, and they also get the benefit of the recycling as well, because there must be a financial benefit too, because you have all the raw materials coming back to you again to then recycle. So there must be a profit there, or if Lisa's not profitable, then I don't know how we can make it work. But they should all be part of that whole loop, and then it's already kind of self-taken care of, self-reliant.
Do you remember the story of the Lorax?
I don't necessarily.
The Dr. Seuss?
I remember the name. I'm not sure if I'm familiar.
It's a very environmentally charged kind of story about cutting down these trees that have like fluffy tops, like cotton, that are used to make products. And the Lorax says you shouldn't cut down the trees. And then eventually there's no trees left and all the factories are gone because they run out of trees. So it's this whole like idea of sustainability.
Sustainability, yeah.
I think recycling, it's not necessarily the ideal way that the world would work, in my opinion. It's kind of like a halfway. Like ideally, we wouldn't need to recycle packaging and all these things.
No.
It would just be useful in its original form for something. Like in my opinion, like reuse to me is the ideal, scenario.
Like you go to a place like Bulk Barn and you bring your containers and there's a lever.
Reuse the container.
And you bring your container and there's a big thing of cornflakes there and you pull the lever down and you fill your container of cornflakes and then you go to the checkout and they weigh how many cornflakes you have and then you pay for it and you're gone.
Like glass bottles.
Yeah.
You can reuse the bottle in its same capacity.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to like melt down the glass.
No.
And do it because that's a lot of energy.
For sure, definitely.
And
speaking of the environment, right? Like, what's the environment?
If you want to be environmentally friendly,
impact?
You should be minimizing the energy investment, even if it means paying a little bit more up front.
Yep.
Did a project at Laurentian about that, and it showed that studies showed that even after recycling, things like aluminum cans and glass bottles are essentially worse for the environment than PET plastics, because they're reused so infrequently.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of energy it takes to refine aluminum and glass means that the aluminum and glass need to be reused like many times in order to recoup the original cost.
I remember there was a brand of water that was out there that had a glass bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And just recently they changed to plastic in the last 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
And we would buy that particular brand
because of that,
because we could reuse the bottle. It was a bottle, and take it with us, whatever, fill it with our own water.
Mm-hmm.
That got used.
Mm-hmm.
It's still to this day we have them, and we use them. So
cool.
There's an example of you make something once and it's used over and over and over again, rather than. I could have put that in recycling, and then it could have had energy to be used to melt it down and make another bottle with it, which would have had a footprint and a carbon footprint on the environment.
Mm-hmm.
But it never had to because it kept using that container over and over. The bottle.
One last note on this weird recycling kind of phase. I feel like the world's going through a recycling phase. I think that it will be phased out.
Okay.
In my opinion, I think we'll eventually be smart enough to realize this is not the ideal way to do things. We'll just kind of make things originally with the end product in mind, rather than just being like a consumer culture that after we use it, we kind of
throw it away,
toss it away. I think we're going to be smarter. But in the meantime, I have this weird, have you ever watched like a post-apocalyptic movie?
Many.
Yeah. Like Orwell has some really good ones. Books especially.
A lot of the modern day movies are
based on, they're all kind of based on the same Orwellian kind of idea. And I had this weird thought when we were talking about this, of an Orwellian movie where the main character works in a factory that takes wood pulp, that they cut down trees and create wood pulp, and then they compress the wood pulp into like fibers in the shape of trees, and then they plant the wood fiber shaped trees back in the forest.
Just
and they
to
go,
look
and
like
they go
trees?
see we're being environmentally friendly.
So the appearance that there's trees there, even though they're not trees.
It's a very Orwellian idea.
Yeah.
It's like a facade. And they go, now we can enjoy the forest again. Now that we've used the product, but we're going to put it back. Like,
I know.
This is kind of what recycling is to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're putting it back, but it's never going to be the same.
No.
Right?
It's the idea. It's that you feel good thinking you're doing something good, but do we really know the process that from beginning to end?
Few people do. Yeah.
It's something, we just have a good feeling feeling that we're contributing. And, it'd be great to have an effective system where we actually are. And it's as,
It's like cradle to crib. The idea of cradle to crib to me is very, what do they say, farm to table?
Farm to table.
These ideas are becoming, or I think products will get there too.
Yeah, beginning to end processes that are in the best interest of those that are buying it and using and consuming them, right?
Like when you build a cell phone, are you building it with 20 or 30 years in mind?
Or 5.
Or are you building it like 2 years in it? Like that to me is a fundamental shift in your thinking.
Yeah.
Same with cars. We build cars to be consumed, and they're done.
Yeah.
So are we going to get to a point where we build cars with 100 years in mind?
I remember coming to that. I was driving one time. I was like, oh, man, I think cars are designed to break down.
Planned obsolescence.
That's right. Like this particular part's only going to last so long. Instead of thinking, how can I make this part last as long as possible?
Yeah. Pass it on to
exactly
another generation.
But it's against their own whatever to have a car last forever, because then they don't continue to make money.
Yeah.
You're only going to buy 1 or 2 cars instead of 5 or 6.
Well, you
over
think
your lifetime, right?
But cars now last 20 plus years. Whereas in the past, there's no way they would have lasted that long.
Yeah.
Like the first cars, mass-produced cars, would never have lasted 20 years. Mm-hmm. Like the main components of the car would need to be changed so many times. Steel has gotten so much more resilient to corrosion and things.
For sure.
I think without a doubt we'll see big innovation there.